Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Brayden. This is the Airless Quill 9 channel, and today we're having a video on the new wizard that's coming out in the Player's Handbook. So we're going to give the video a listen, and then there is also an article out that gives some additional details. So if I need to swap between those to get some answers, we'll do so, and I'll give you a detailed report.
Hello, everyone. Today we are talking about the wizard. The wizard has all sorts of new magical goodies, some in the class, but many of them in the spell chapter. The wizard is the paramount collector of spells in D&D. They have the longest spell list of any class, and that list in the new Player's Handbook got even longer, which we were able to do partly because the spell chapter got even bigger, and many of those spells are for the wizard because spell access and spell versatility is the beating heart of the wizard class. And so, whereas other spellcasting classes, of course, also care about spells, but often their spellcasting is enhanced by a number of other features that they have that bring their distinctiveness, whereas the wizard's primary distinctiveness is a huge variety of spells at their fingertips. And so we just leaned into that even more. Just as in every class, we've leaned into what really makes a particular class shine, what makes it really exciting to the people who love playing that class. And so with the wizard, it is give us all the spells.
So much has changed with spells as well.
So they didn't expand upon it, but it sounds like they've added a bunch of new spells to the book that wizards can enjoy.
Well, there've been, there's a lot of quality of life improvements in so many of these spells. The wizard is consequently the most affected by that.
Exactly. And then the wizard has a number of new features and enhanced features that allow them to interact with that massive treasure chest of spells in the book with even greater versatility. So, for example, at first level, wizards now have the ability to change one of their cantrips every time they finish a long rest. No other class has this capability. To just every day be, no, I now know a different cantrip.
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's a great example of how we're leaning into that breadth and versatility that is such a distinctive aspect of the wizard and always has been as one of the classes that has been in the game the longest. We have also, at first level, added a new feature called Ritual Adept. Now, functionally, this feature is not new. What this feature does is it allows the wizard to cast as a ritual any ritual that is in the wizard's spellbook. I say it's not functionally a new feature because wizards in 2014 had that capability. We decided, though, to take that capability, which used to be inside the spellcasting feature, and we broke it out into its own class feature because we realized that there were a number of wizard players who were missing the fact that they had that feature, because the spellcasting feature has a lot going on in it, and it can actually be easy to miss this little section about, oh, and hey, by the way, you're really great at using rituals. And we thought that was an important enough part of the wizard's identity and really a separate bit of functionality from the base spellcasting feature that we broke it out into its own feature called, again, Ritual Adept.
Perfect.
At second level...
Okay, so the main changes for first level are to the spellcasting feature, and it sounds like you can swap out one of the cantrips you have whenever you take a long rest, so there's some versatility there. And they've removed the ritual casting text to its own feature called Ritual Caster. I think it was called, it's called Ritual Adept. And basically that is the feature that lets you cast any ritual in your spell book, even if it's not prepared. So they made that its own feature just to help the players. And if I look at this right here, looks like the spell book can now be used as a spell casting focus, so that's nice. Backing up your spell book is faster and cheaper. That's also really nice. And then that's the part that we talked about. And something that they're doing for all spell casting classes is the number of spells you can prepare at a certain level is now a fixed number. So that just makes it easier on players to know how many spells to prepare.
Gave a truly new feature to the wizard called Scholar. And here, just as we have in several of our other classes where we've given people a bit more versatility outside combat. Now, not that the wizard needed a whole lot of help in that realm, because wizards, as a result of having so much spell versatility, have access to a lot of non-combat spells. But we also, with the wizard, wanted to do a better job of, in the game mechanics, highlighting that wizards are meant to be the consummate scholars. That a huge part of their identity is that they are bookish folk. And so the new scholar ability allows the wizard to select a skill from a list in the feature and have expertise in that skill. And the skills on the list are like Arcana, History, etc. All skills that are about being an expert in essentially an academic field. And we have often, in the story text for the wizard, talked about that aspect of wizards. We wanted to give the story some teeth in the rules, and hence the creation of the scholar feature. Now, the wizard gets yet another brand new feature at 5th level. And this feature is called Memorize Spell. And
okay, so 2nd level is a new feature. It's called Scholar, and it gains you expertise in a select skill. And you choose one of the following skills you're proficient in. It's Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, or Religion. So you gain 1 expertise, which is nice.
Again, leaning into the versatility of wizards.
And at level 5, you get a new feature called Memorize Spell, which they're going to talk about.
Wizards, we gave them a bit more versatility. Memorize Spell now allows the wizard, when they finish a short rest, to swap out one of the level 1 or higher spells they have prepared for another one in their spell book. You know, if they know they have that one spell in their spell book that they really wish they had prepared, Memorize Spell will now allow them to do that.
And that's huge for any type of combat, like potential combat encounter, but or you are running into like something that's happening in a dungeon and you need to find a way to like get through this situation. That's perfect. That's what the wizard should be good at.
Yes, exactly.
Previously in the Unearthed Arcana, this feature took a minute to activate, so it looks like they made it a short rest now. So, I mean, that's a fine change. Wizard is already so powerful just because of the variety of spells they have access to. So, I understand that, and that is still a feature that you can use when you need it. So, they didn't make it unusable with that change.
Otherwise, the wizard in its bones is largely what people sort of know and love. We've made some.
That's mage armor, which looks really cool. I like that. It has a look from that. That's neat.
Tweaks in how we present some of the material in the wizard, but really the heart of the new material in the base class is even greater breadth and greater versatility. And then that sets up the 4 subclasses to be very well equipped to then do what they're great at, having such a firm, versatile base for their features to be built on.
So one of the very first subclasses is the Abjurer.
Okay, so they didn't talk about some of the other features that they've changed a little bit. So here at 18th level, Spell Mastery has had a few minor changes, starting with the fact that you have to choose the spells that you choose must have a casting time of 1 action. That means you can no longer have a shield prepared or Misty Step, and you can't benefit from it with those, but you're now limited to spells that take an action to cast. And you can only swap one spell at a time rather than both. I don't recall what that. Oh, that must be whenever you take a long rest, you can replace only one of the spells, not both of them. However, those spells are always prepared, and they can be swapped out during a long rest, rather than 8 hours of study. So that part is a buff. You do it as part of a long rest. And also here, all classes at 19th level get the epic boon feature now, and it looks like this is one of the new epic boons that's coming out, called the Boon of Spell Recall. Increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifier or ability score by 1 up to a maximum of 30. And when you cast a spell using a level 1 to 4 spell slot, roll a d4. If you roll the spell's level, the slot isn't expended. That's not bad. That has potential to be quite powerful. Granted, there is a level of chance, but I imagine some people will like that a lot. So now we're going to look into the subclasses.
Tell me about this. This is the one that is a lot about defensive magic.
Yes, the Abjurer is at heart all about defending themselves and then ultimately also being able to defend others. And to aid them in their defensive capabilities, we've done a number of things both in the subclass itself, but also in the wizard's spell list. There are a number of spells that were previously not abjurations that now are.
Oh, interesting.
And we did this, because some of the spells we felt had been misclassified as other types of magic, and so we were correcting them, the spells themselves, making them abjurations. But this is also of practical importance to the Abjurer because it's casting abjuration spells that helps refresh their magical force field that absorbs damage.
Yeah.
And though this doesn't affect them, all healing spells are now abjuration spells, which is neat, because it brings into that idea of negating damages effects.
And so that's another example of how the work that we've done in the spell chapter and in the wizard spell list has a powerful effect on how this subclass functions as well as the other wizard subclasses.
Absolutely.
Each of the 4 wizard subclasses now has a brand new version of their savant feature. That feature used to give the wizard a discount on scribing spells of that school into their spell book.
Right.
We found over the last decade that in actual play, this was rarely actually being used. Often people would forget they had it.
Yeah.
And even if they remembered they had it, it was not actually doing them a whole lot of good. So we wanted to give people something more concrete that not only would they enjoy, but also really help ensure that they were connected to their favorite school of magic. So in the Abjurer, Abjuration Savant right away gives you 2 more abjuration spells that you get to add to your spell book for free.
Okay.
And then every time you level up thereafter as a wizard, you get an additional abjuration spell for free. And so we've taken this shtick,
Cool.
and that shtick is now in all 4 of the wizard subclasses.
So now for the savant features, all they essentially do is give you spells of that particular school, which makes a lot of sense, and it gives you that motivation to choose that particular school that you want, because you'll ensure that you always have spells from that particular school in your spell book now. So I like that change. Plus, it also, if in campaigns where you are unlikely to find um spells that you can copy into your spell book, this just ensures that you have a bunch of spells for the particular school that you're interested in.
Ensuring that if you're an Abjurer, Evoker, Illusionist, or Diviner, you are guaranteed every time you level up to get at least one spell.
Now, he says every time you level up, but I know in the play test it was only when you gained a new spell level. And it doesn't say there. Wait. All wizard subclasses get 2 free spells from their school and another free spell each time they get access to a new level of spell slot. Okay, so they kept that the same. And also, all wizard subclasses, like every subclass in the game now, start at level 3 instead of level 2. That is a nice change.
That is associated with your favored school of magic.
Okay, perfect.
So that makes that feature in all 4 of the subclasses far more useful, and again, does some important work in making sure that you are actually connected to your favored school. Now, in the Abjurer's Arcane Ward, which is really their signature class feature, this is the feature where they get to conjure up a protective field of magic, and it can essentially take their damage for them. We made if a person's reading fast, they might miss it when they get to the feature, but we made a significant change to how the Arcane Ward works, and that is if your Abjurer has resistance, vulnerability, or immunity, those are now all applied before the Arcane Ward takes damage.
Okay.
Now, you'll be sad in the rare case of you having vulnerability and it being applied first. But most of the time, what this is going to mean is it's if you have acquired...
I assume by what he's saying, applied first, what he means is if you have resistance, immunity, or vulnerability, you're going to factor that in whenever you take damage and you have that Arcane Ward up. So that's a good ability, because it did not do that before.
Resistance to a particular damage type, it now means your Arcane Ward can benefit from that resistance.
Absolutely.
And we then also applied that improvement to the projected ward feature that you get later, where you then have the ability to share your protection
That's good
with
for
friends.
other players too.
But in that case, rather than it being your resistance or vulnerability or immunity that's applied, it's theirs. So if, let's say, you're protecting your friend who has poison resistance and they take poison damage, their resistance to poison damage will kick in first. Then the Arcane Ward will take the remaining damage. And then if there's still damage left over, then only then will it reach the person who's being protected.
The benefit of this is if you have an abjuration spell that can give you resistances like that, and you cast it, you are not only funneling energy into your shield, essentially, but you are also applying those resistances that spell would have to that damage at the same time. You're kind of gaming the system constantly. You're growing your shield and then making it more resistant at the same time, all in one.
Before you get to your level 14 feature, you actually get a brand new feature as an Abjurer called Spellbreaker. At level 10, Spellbreaker now makes it so that you always have the counterspell and dispel magic spells prepared, and you can cast dispel magic as a bonus action.
Mm-hmm.
And when you cast either of the spells with the spell slot, if the spell fails to either counter another spell or dispel a spell, your spell slot is not expended. This is the wizard who
That
not
is
only is
very nice change. So yeah, the difference here is that they added counterspell to this feature. It was not there in the playtest, so that's nice to see. And so you can cast Dispel Magic as a bonus action on your turn. So that's really nice. Especially for just getting spells out of the way that have been cast. And then this is really nice. If you actually fail those spells, which they do have a chance to fail, you're not expending the spell slot that you tried to use. So that just adds it's just a lot of nice quality changes to that, and ensures that you have the tools needed to try that again on your next turn.
another spellcaster does not want to get into a spell duel with the Abjurer. But also, Dispel Magic being a bonus action means if you're in one of those situations in the game where, sometimes there'll be a battle where there's a MacGuffin with some kind of magical protection, and most other characters would have to use their entire action to try to break that protection on it. The Abjurer can just walk up as a bonus action, try to shatter the spell, and still take their action to do something else.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so Spellbreaker is a really exciting new feature for this subclass. And then at level 14, the Abjurer still gets their spell resistance that they had before.
Awesome.
That's very fun. Again, you're like honing in on what makes the Abjurer, that wish fulfillment, that fantasy that you would have, concrete.
Absolutely. We then had a similar approach.
Okay, so it sounds like Abjuration Wizard buffs all around, and very nice quality of life changes, which is great because I love the Abjuration Wizard. I have played an Abjuration Wizard, and I do have an Abjuration Wizard that I'm playing in a campaign, so I love to see those changes. I can't wait to use them when the book comes out. And yeah, that is going to be amazing.
With the Diviner, because the Diviner was in such fantastic shape in 2014.
Diviner's very good as well.
A very beloved subclass, a very effective subclass. So the main things that people who love playing Diviners have to look forward to is the improved Divination Savant, which like the Savant spells and the other subclasses, make sure that you always get some divination spells as you level up as a wizard. When you get up to level 10 and get the third eye ability, that you can now use this as a bonus action rather than an action. And we did this because we wanted you to be able to unlock the cool sense, a very effective subclass. So the main things that people who love playing Diviners have to look forward to is the improved Divination Savant, which, like the Savant spells and the other subclasses, make sure that you always get some divination spells as you level up as a wizard. When you get up to level 10 and get the third eye ability, that you can now use this as a bonus action rather than an action.
That is good.
We did this because we wanted you to be able to unlock the cool senses that this feature gives you, even in the midst of a battle, and not lose your whole turn doing it.
That's good.
We also fine-tuned and upgraded the options within the third eye. So the dark vision option, for instance, now extends to 120 feet.
Nice.
We did this partly because we now have some of the species in the book who have dark vision of 120 feet. We
Namely
also
Drow and Dwarf.
combined some of the abilities that were present before under the third eye into one called simply now See Invisibility, which allows you now to cast the See Invisibility spell without expending a spell slot. So some
And it looks like you can do some bonus action, which is
nice quality of life improvements, particularly in that third eye feature that you.
Here's the main question, though: if whether or not activating that feature, if you do the See Invisibility option, does that count as casting a spell on your turn, or is it just using an item?
Get it level 10.
In the playtest for this,
I would hope
for
the
all of
latter.
this, does combat feel significantly faster? It just feels like there's a new momentum because so many things are being shifted to a bonus action. Like it just feels like things are going to be moving so much quicker in D&D now.
So it varies depending on what characters do, and also some things that used to be bonus actions
Right.
are now actions, or are now a part of some other action. So it really is been just a large holistic shuffling of things to try to get them to be in the right part of the action economy to keep things moving, but also to make it so that things feel like they are costing the right part of the action economy.
Right.
Often we'll make the change because something as an action just wasn't pulling its weight. And so then we either beefed it up so that it did pull its weight as an action, or we turned it into a bonus action or a reaction or not an action at all, and it just became something that happens as part of another action or at the start or end of your turn.
Okay.
And so there are tweaks like that that we made within the wizard, but through the entire game.
Okay, perfect.
So how about next we talk about the Evoker?
If you love dealing damage and also not destroying your entire party, this is the subclass.
Okay, so for Diviner, most of the changes are just to their third eye features, so you can now use a bonus action to activate it. The dark vision part has increased to 120 feet, and the See Invisibility option now allows you to count invisibility without using a spell slot. And the yellow effect has been removed, which I assume is what the ability has replaced. Those changes are fine. I think those are good. The third site was so situational anyway. See Invisibility is a lot less situational. Alright, so Evoker.
That's for you. So what I'm terrified of what might have improved because it was already very strong.
So yeah, the Evoker and the Diviner were two of the most solid subclasses in the 2014 Player's Handbook, just in terms of delivering what they needed to deliver for their identity.
Yeah.
And so because of that, in each of these subclasses, our job was mostly don't mess anything up. And so in the Evoker, they get their Evocation Savant feature now. So again, like the other wizard subclasses, they're going to get supplied by evocation spells throughout their career as a wizard. But then we did make a major enhancement in the Potent Cantrip feature. Potent Cantrip used to pertain only to saving throws, and specifically saving throw cantrips. The issue is there were not a ton of those for evokers to use in the 2014 Player's Handbook, and even subsequent to that book, there were only a few. And so what we did is we've made it so that Potent Cantrip now applies not just to cantrips you cast that involve a saving throw, but also ones that involve an attack roll. And now, when you cast those at a creature and you miss or the creature succeeds on its saving throw, you still deal half damage to them.
That's amazing.
This is really meant to point at the fact that the Evoker is in many ways the
That's nice.
the premier battle magician in the game. and better than pretty much anyone, can ensure that they're going to deal a little bit of damage every time they take a turn if they're casting a damaging spell.
And this happens sooner, doesn't it?
This happens at level 3 when you get the subclass.
Yeah.
Now, the wizard subclasses, which used to kick in at level 2, now all kick in at level 3.
Right.
Again, because now all classes get their subclass at level 3.
Perfect.
Otherwise, the Evoker is the amazingly powerful and effective subclass that it always was.
Overchannel. Sculpt spell.
Yes. Yeah, with Sculpt Spell continuing to be a really pivotal part of the Evoker's kit, because if you have a subclass that's all about bringing the boom, it sure is nice if they're not blowing up their friends.
Now, there are some.
Okay, so the main changes that I know is that they flipped Potent Cantrip and Sculpt Spells. Swapped places, so Sculpt Spells is now at 6th level, Potent Cantrip is at 3rd level, which honestly makes sense just as it makes sense to me why they flipped though, and at least you're still getting both of them. And Potent Cantrip has been buffed, so if you miss an attack roll, or if the creature succeeds a saving throw against the cantrip, you're now dealing half of that damage, which is nice. Just ensures that you're able to use your ability there.
Some significant changes to a subclass that I actually quite love, that are new and exciting, and that is for the Illusionist.
Yes, the Illusionist, in addition to getting their Illusion Savant feature at level 3, then right away has in the subclass 2 new features. There's one of them is also at level 3 called Improved Illusions. And then at level 6, they get a brand new feature called Phantasmal Creatures.
Yeah.
Following the Unearthed Arcana series and getting feedback on the Illusionist and also in our own playtests of the Illusionist, we felt that this subclass needed more. And so one of our goals with these new features is to make it so that the Illusionist is actually the best subclass at casting illusions. And so the Improved Illusions feature that they now get at level 3 is all about that. First, they can now cast their illusion spells without providing verbal components. We did this because we wanted an illusionist, if they want to be able to create illusions silently. And in especially exploration and social situations in the game, this will be immensely helpful, because now the spell might have a somatic component, and so the illusionist might be twiddling their fingers, but doesn't have to say anything aloud. And so they might be able to cause an illusion to suddenly appear in a situation, and no one will know that it was that person over there who did it. We've also made it in this same feature that any of the illusionist's illusion spells that has a range of at least 10 feet now has that range increased by 60 feet.
Oh, wow.
And so that also now means that illusionists can create their illusions in a much larger range than other characters can.
Be way more tactical about distractions.
Exactly. So if someone else has to have the illusion just within 10 feet, the illusionist can have their illusion 70 feet over there. And giving them much more flexibility in how they essentially mess with people in a particular situation.
And harder to tell from that distance that is an illusion, right? Like, just as if I was a dungeon master, like if there was an illusion of someone 60 feet away, like how good is your your visual acuity at that point for you to identify that that is fake?
Yes.
Yeah, significantly less.
But Improved Illusions has even more.
Okay.
So what it did before is it gave you the minor illusion cantrip.
Right.
So that also is included in the feature. That cantrip does not count against the number of cantrips that you know as a wizard. It just like it did in 2014, this feature lets you create both a visual and an audible illusion simultaneously with minor illusion, and you can cast minor illusion as a bonus action. And then at level 6, you get
cool.
phantasmal creatures.
Yeah, this is really amazing.
And here, we wanted to give Illusionist...
Wait, but is that still the same feature that he was talking about?
Does not count against the number of cantrips that... so what it did before is it gave you the minor illusion cantrip.
Right.
So that also is included in the feature.
Good.
That cantrip does not count against the number of cantrips that you know as a wizard. It just like it did in 2014, this feature lets you create both a visual and an audible illusion simultaneously with minor illusion.
Good.
And you can cast minor illusion as a bonus action.
Okay, so
and
that's
then at
all
level
right.
6, you get phantasmal creatures.
Yeah, this is really amazing.
And here, we wanted to give Illusionist
So this is the new 6th level feature.
an ability that had a bit more combat teeth and also really helped fulfill that fantasy of, you know, I create an illusory bear and it roars and creates havoc. And in addition to creating a distraction, can actually fight in battle. And so what Phantasmal Creatures does is it gives the Illusionist the Summon Beast and Summon Fey spells. The Illusionist always now has these 2 spells prepared.
Okay.
And by the way, here's another great example of how we were able to lean on the expanded spell chapter of this book to enhance our classes and subclasses. This Summon Beast and Summon Fey weren't in the 2014 Player's Handbook. They're new spells in the 2024 Player's Handbook, and so the Illusionist can now benefit from them. And the Illusionist now has the option of casting these 2 spells as normal, of conjuring up a beast or a Fey creature. But the Illusionist also has the option of changing the school of magic on these 2 spells from conjuration to illusion. And if the Illusionist does that, you can cast the illusory version without expending a spell slot.
Okay.
But if you do that, the illusion has half as many hit points as the non-illusory version would have.
Right.
Okay.
But what this basically
But
means...
you can still opt to do the full hit points if you want.
Yes, you can. But what this means is an illusionist can, once they reach level 6, cast Summon Beast and Summon Fey, each of those spells once per day without expending a spell slot, as long as you summon the illusory version of the beast or the Fey.
Right.
So this is going to be a ton of fun, super useful, not only in combat, but even in exploration situations. If, say, you need one of these creatures to show up and because it can fly, or, you know, go get that thing over there, or, I mean, especially, hey, it's an illusion, don't feel bad about it.
I know.
It go step on that trap.
This is walking through the Tomb of Horrors one by one.
Yes. So this feature combined with improved illusions is really going to bring the Illusionist to life, I think, in a way we haven't seen in 5th edition.
And you're using the stat blocks that are in those summoning spells, but you can make it look like anything you want, really, because you're an illusionist, right? Like, that's the flavor of
That's
it.
part of the spell.
Because, yeah, you can, with these spells, flavor how they look.
Yeah.
Now then, at level 10, you still get the Illusory Self feature, which is the Illusionist's defensive ability, but a really nice set of enhancements we've made to the feature is, first, we've made it so that it's triggered by you being hit by an attack rather than attack roll being simply made at you.
Yeah.
So you won't even be tempted to use it until it's really necessary for you to use it. And then the other thing we did is we made it so that if you want, you can restore your use of this feature by expending a spell slot of level 2 or higher.
That's huge.
And especially at higher levels, wizards have a whole lot of spell slots.
Yeah.
And so the illusionists, if they want to, can farm their spell slots to get more uses of illusory self.
That makes you a very defensible character.
And so all of these changes combined mean in many ways the illusionist is a new subclass.
Yeah.
Because Really, the only part of the subclass that is largely the same as it was before is its capstone ability at level 14, Illusory Reality.
Which has always been amazing.
Yeah, and that's, we didn't want to touch that because it is such an iconic ability of the subclass of being able to, and this is the example we give in the feature itself of create an illusory bridge with, a spell that's able to create an illusion like that, and then use this feature to say, nah, it's a real bridge.
Yeah.
And have you and your companions cross it, and then, maybe get other people, your foes, to try to follow you, and then, whoops, it's back to being an illusion.
I have been up to many shenanigans with that particular feature, both in villains and as a player. If you wanted to be a really nasty villain, you could have an entire room that is there's a spiked pit below, and you create the illusion of a floor that is real, and then if things pop off, you just cause everything to fall. Yeah, there's 1,000 uses for that. It's so good. And we also have more guidance about illusion magic as well, correct?
Yes. So in the rules glossary, there is now a section on illusions, and that section addresses some of the more common questions that come up about illusions, simple things like how are they affected by the environment around them, but also as we reviewed all of the illusion spells in the book's massive spell chapter, we made sure to add in clarifications anywhere we felt the spell could be clearer about how its illusion worked. But also, again, some of that clarity isn't in those spells themselves, but in the new glossary entry on illusions. And that glossary, which I know we'll talk about in more depth in another video, really is going to be everyone's buddy at the game table.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it now, not only because of the illusion section for Illusionists, but also how much of that rules glossary will be useful to wizard players and players of other spellcasters, because that rules glossary is going to define all the areas of effect that your spells deal with, all the conditions that your spells apply. There's guidance when it comes to spellcasting in the rules glossary on teleportation, on telepathy, and on being dead. And what that means, which maybe when we get to the cleric video, we can dive into a little bit the rules glossary section on being dead.
Perfect. The great tease for the cleric video.
Yes.
I'll have to make that next. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The new player's handbook is available for...
Okay. So just to cap it off, so improved illusion replaces improved minor illusion. You'll get the illusion cantrip, and you can cast it as a bonus action, which is really nice. But it also lets you ignore the verbal components of illusion spells and increases their range by 60 feet if they're at least 10 feet already. So that's really, really useful for illusion spells. And then at 6th level, they get this Phantasmal Creatures feature, which gives them the Summon Beast and Summon Fae spells, which are normally conjuration spells, but they can change them to be illusion spells, and if they cast as illusion spell, they get a free casting of that spell, and the illusion self has half of its hit points, which is fine. It just brings a limitation on it. And then finally, the illusory self feature. You can restore your expended use of it with a level 2 spell slot. So it just lets you use that more and more and more. So overall, these are great changes to the wizard, and especially to these subclasses. Just makes them a lot more potent and a lot more applicable to every situation that they might find themselves in. It also really builds into each flavor of each of those subclasses so that you're using those features in a way that impacts the game. So I'm really happy with the change that they did on the wizard. The only downside is we didn't get a revised version of all 8 schools of magic, which I'm sure they will do at some point, but it's sad that we don't get all 8 of them in this book. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my content. But until then, I'll catch you all later. Peace.